a devil worshipper dubbed the Cannibal of Puebla, who allegedly killed his own wife, ate her brains in tacos, and used her skull as an ashtray, has thankfully been arrested in Mexico. The suspect, identified only as Alvaro, was seized at the couple's home in Puebla. July the 2nd, he was taken into custody. The police accused the 32-year-old of murdering his wife, a mother of 5 children, on June 29th, whilst under the influence of a prohibited substance. During questioning, the suspect allegedly told officers that Santa Moreta, Our Lady of Holy Death, and the devil had ordered him to commit the crime. So this scumbag, psychotic, murderer, cannibal Mexican is claiming that Santa Moreta, literally the devil, ordered him to murder and cannibalize his own wife. We all have different beliefs. Many of us are religious, not everyone. Some of us believe in the devil. I'm not overly familiar with I'm going to say the Mexican culture. Perhaps I'm getting things a little bit muddled here, but I presume it's the Mexican, South American culture to some degree, or aspects of that culture that are familiar with, aware of, and some believe in Santa Muerta. Hopefully on the video you'll see some shrines of Santa Muerta, which essentially, if I understand, is really a skull, some form of semblance of a skeleton resembling the devil, I guess. And seemingly some people not only believe in Santa Muerta, but celebrate, I think would be the right word, celebrate, respect, pay adherence to what they believe is a god. I believe I'm using the right terms, perhaps I'm not. If I'm not, then I'm not too far from being accurate, I think. Back to the article. Following the killing, Alvaro, the suspect, allegedly dismembered his wife, Maria Montserrat Animas Montiel's body, and placed her remains in plastic bags. The suspect allegedly threw some of those bags into a ravine behind the home, and he kept the rest of the bags with his dismembered wife's body within it inside the property. This is a very, very sick individual. Whether or not his religious or cultural beliefs are a part of that, he's a sicko. 2 days after the killing, the suspect allegedly called one of his stepdaughters and confessed to his crime. He confessed to eating part of his wife's brain in tacos and using part of her shattered skull as an ashtray. This is, again, a complete and utter psychopathic sicko who has no respect of life, not even for his own wife. He murders his wife, he dismembers his wife, he stuffs her various body parts in plastic bags, keeps those bags around the home. But he goes further, he eats part of her body, her brain, in tacos. This is just disrespectful. There is no need for this. This is somebody that is hell-bent on being evil. He uses part of her shattered skull as an ashtray. That is just to be disrespectful to his deceased wife that he has killed. There's no reason other than that. That's my take on it. It's vindictiveness. It's evil. He's trying to be, or he indeed was, trying to be as evil as is possible, as disgusting and despicable and barbaric as is possible. And he managed it. The victim's mother told media that the suspect told one of her daughters to come and collect her mother because I already killed her and put her in bags. Again, the victim's name, Maria Montserrat Animas Montiel, and she was a mother of 5. Her husband, I don't know if he's the father of any or all of the 5 children, but her husband contacts one of the victim's daughters and says, "Hey, I've killed your mum. I've chopped her up. I've put her in bags. I've eaten part of her brain. I'm using part of her skull as an ashtray. Why don't you come and pick her up?" Again, this is just somebody who's trying to be horrific. He is trying to hurt and be brazen in just such a disgusting, despicable way. He's proud of his actions. He's proud that he's taken the life of his wife, a mother of 5, and decimated her body, desecrated her body in such a way. And he's claiming it's all because of Santa Muerte and the devil. That's why. He wants to be a bad man, and he's succeeded. He really, really is a sick, evil individual. The suspect, the husband, chopped up his 38-year-old wife's body with a machete, a chisel, and a hammer. He confessed to this. He confessed that he killed her and cut her into pieces. He confessed to having thrown her body into bags and then over a ravine. Again, the suspect and the victim were married, but for less than a year. The wife, the victim, Maria Montserrat, had 5 daughters aged 12 to 23, so I presume none of her children were fathered by the suspect. We're told that the youngest 2 children lived with the couple, and according to the victim's mother, so the children's grandmother, the 2 youngest that lived with the husband and wife were subjected to violence and sexual harassment by the husband. We're told by the grandmother of the children that the suspect would spy on them whilst they showered, and the grandmother says that the victim always sided with him. Seemingly, the victim did not protect herself and did not protect her 2 children that lived with her and the murderer. So I'm going to be a bit of an asshole at this point. I'm going to victim blame. The victim suffered horrendously. Maria Montserrat, 38 years of age, mother of 5, murdered, dismembered, desecrated by her husband. That's an awful thing. I can pray for her for sure, but at the same time, I have to blame her. I'm going to have to victim blame, and the reason why I have to victim blame, we have to victim blame, is because we need to shake up and wake up those that are around us, literally or metaphorically, those within our communities that do the same thing, that remain with a violent partner, that remain with a partner that causes harm to children. In this case, according to the grandmother, the scumbag psychopathic cannibal husband subjected the victim's 2 youngest children to both violent and sexual harassment. He would spy on one of them whilst they showered, both of them seemingly. That's a sick individual. So frankly, I'm going to blame the mother for whatever it's worth for not having acted, and maybe she's in a part of Mexico, Puebla, that perhaps she wasn't really able to take much action. I don't know. My guess, this is sheer and utter speculation, my guess is this scumbag murderer was closely associated with the cartel. That's my guess. That's my guess based on nothing other than a generalization, nothing but a stereotype. But this guy seemingly celebrated, revered Santa Muerta, celebrated, revered the devil, allowed himself to commit this disgusting crime of murdering, dismembering, and cannibalizing his own wife. But we know more than that. We know that, well, according to the grandmother, that he was subjecting his wife's children to sexual and violent harassment. We're also told that he is or was a drug addict, as well as presumably an alcoholic. He was a drink addict, so an alcoholic. We're told that he was often violent towards his wife, and he often posted about Santa Muerta on social media. I used to watch Sons of Anarchy. I like watching gangster movies. We can celebrate violence to an extent in entertainment. I watch boxing. It's good when you see somebody get punched with a strong punch. Yeah? A bit of violence in entertainment satisfies me, satisfies many of us, tickles some base innate desires that we have, some of us have. But this guy obviously went a lot further than that. Obviously, he really did celebrate evil. He had a black magic altar in their home. He allowed himself to snort cocaine, be violent to his wife's children, to sexually harass his wife's children, allegedly, to beat his wife, allegedly. And then that indulgence of violence and evil led him to this horrendous act, which I guarantee he's proud of. I guarantee he's happy that he committed this horrible, despicable act of murdering, dismembering, cannibalizing his own wife. He's pleased with himself because he's proven to himself and others that he's a real bad piece of work, and that's how he wants to be viewed, as a bad man. And he's got that. He's got his wish. We're told that the victim's family isn't able to lay the victim's body to rest because some of her remains are still missing. Again, she was dismembered, stuffed into bags. Those bags were thrown over a ravine. This is an aspect which particularly upsets the victim's mother. The victim's mother, being a normal human being, wants her child to be laid to rest respectfully, and she just wants to do her best to hopefully ensure that happens. So of course, full condolences to the victim's mother, full condolences to family and friends of the victim. Seemingly the suspect has confessed. With that, I would hope that means he's going to be sentenced, I would think, either to the death penalty, if that's an option in Mexico. I presume it is, or life in prison. Is he going to be revered in jail? Are his fellow inmates going to also celebrate his actions? Are they going to be proud of him? Are they going to view him as a bad man, but in the respectful way? Don't know. There's one very weak blessing. Maybe it's not a weak blessing. There's one blessing, but it's a twisted blessing. And that is that the victim's children will no longer be subject to being victimized by this psychopath. That's a blessing, but I say it's a twisted blessing because they've had their mother taken away. So I hope that all the children are able to get the support that they're going to need moving forward. Hopefully they're able to overcome the trauma which they will have been subjected to every time they think of their mother. They're going to have at the forefront this horror of how her life was ended. Am I allowed to suggest that perhaps there's something wrong with aspects of Mexican culture? Am I allowed to suggest that? Perhaps I'm not, so I won't suggest it. I'd merely mention that as a subject. But perhaps devil worshipping, perhaps celebrating black magic isn't healthy. I don't know how much of a part of Mexican culture that is. Maybe it's an extremely small part. I don't know that the suspect is a part of the cartel, but he's got the violence, he's got the celebration of Santa Muerta, he's got the alcohol and cocaine use. I would think he's not too far away from being a member of the cartel. And by that I mean willing and able to perform these horrific acts. Again, he ate his wife's brains in tacos. That's not a sane thing to do. That's not a normal thing to do. He used his wife's skull as an ashtray. He didn't need to do that. He told his wife's children to come and pick her up, that he killed her, chopped her up, stuffed her in bags. Come and pick up your mum. He's just an evil man that just wants to inflict horror and hurt on others. And thankfully he's arrested, and hopefully he's not going to be able to do that again. I'm going to wrap things up at this point. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Don't watch too many of my videos, please. They're pretty depressing. If you've got any feedback, let me know. Take care.